Hello, everyone, and welcome to BFW 2401. This is week 8, and we are talking about credit risk, which is a continuation of credit risk, which we discussed in week 7. Now, in week 7, we talked about the definition of credit risk, and also we talked about some measurements model. Specifically, we talked about linear probability model, which we calculated the probability of defaulting. And we talked about the Eltman model, which we calculated the Z value, which has a benchmark. Now, this is a continuation also of the credit risk for single loan. And at the end of week 8, we'll talk about the portfolio credit risk. And we will end up with managing credit risks through some financial derivatives. Now, if you allow me to share my screen, this is what we have. So this is actually the week 8, and it is, as you can see, 5 parts. And in these 5 parts, we will talk about all the models, and I divided in 5 parts. So if you are interested to read the book, you can look at chapter 10, credit risk 1, and chapter 11, credit risk 2. This is how I plan it. So I have part 1, which I will talk about the new model called RORAC. RORAC stands for risk-adjusted return. And this is, I will finish it in 1 part. Then I will move to the next one, the probability default on multi-period. Remember, we talked about in week 7, we talked about single period credit risk using the term structure. This is just when we have more than 1 year. And then in part 3, we'll talk about the option model. Now, option model is developed by what we call KMV. KMV is actually, this model is coming from the industry, and it's very, very one of the most specific and sophisticated and technical models, maybe in the whole semester. And then we will move to the portfolio risk. And actually, we are having all of those, including the modern portfolio theory, MPT. And then we will talk about the management. Now, let me start with the RORAC. The RORAC concept, understand it from this point. The RORAC is actually belongs to what we call the economic added value, which means when we give a loan, we want that loan to give us a return that will exceed the required return by the shareholders, which means more than the ROE, the return on equity. And if this is correct, then we satisfy all the loan expenses, then we satisfy the required return for the shareholders, then what is left is actually an additional value. That additional value is actually will let the bank grow. So the RORAC, from this perspective, you have to calculate it, and therefore, assuming that we are investing in corporate loans, then in this case, we want just to look at the spread. And the spread is, it's the expected interest and fees, which means we need to get this is the spread between, and then we have to add this to what we call, we have to add it to the fees. Now, this is actually additional income. If we decide not to invest in risk-free, this is what we get when this is the additional. And we want to see the expected loan risk, which means the default of the loan. Because if we invested in a risk-free, there is no defaulting. So we are taking this fees and spread and compare it against the expected loan risk. Because of that, we have to compare the RORAC, which is the value which we get here, to the ROE. And the benchmark is if the RORAC exceeds the benchmark, which is the ROE, then the loan will be approved. So the RORAC actually has to be more than the ROA, which is the return in equity. So this is the whole concept behind the RORAC. So as you can see, the RORAC is making to us additional value. So we actually satisfying the required return of the shareholders. This is the whole concept. In terms of calculation, there is some technical point issues when we calculate the additional risk, but or the marginal risk. But for the marginal, to get the fees and the spread, it's not a big problem. So as you can see now, the risk is the change of the value of the loan. And the change of the value of the loan will happen if the interest rate increases. So we can take the loan and the increase of the interest rate and see the new value of the loan. But because the loan has cash flows over the life of the loan, we have to take duration. So actually we take the change of the loan will be the duration times the loan times the change in the interest rate. This is the whole issue behind it. Let's look at this example. So if you have a loan of 1 million and we have the duration to 7 years and we have the return 10, then we have to get the change of the interest rate. And the change of the interest rate, this is the technical point, we have to get the difference of the return of the specific issue minus the risk-free. And the specific issue, which means this company belongs to a class of companies, assuming they are AAA, if they are AAA or EEE, based on their rating, we have to get the changes, calculate the probability of the changes of all the companies, and it can apply to these companies. Let's look at how we are doing it. So as actually this is a distribution, all of this is a distribution of the all companies, which is RI, minus the risk-free. There will be a difference for all those companies. If there are 400 companies, we will distribute them here, and we will calculate the 99% and calculate the highest difference. This is the big changes or the extreme changes in the interest, which will decrease actually the value of the loan. So this is the maximum interest that can increase. Of course, the increase in the interest rate will decrease the value of the loan because the price of the loan is the cash flow over the interest. So this is the maximum we can get according to this distribution, and we want to be very conservative, so we are taking the 99%. So this is actually 1%, and this one is 99% of the time. So this is 99%, all of this area. So the confidence is 99%, which is all of this area. So now, we're assuming now we can apply to this any company to Malaysia, and we can take one of those companies and we see where they belong, and we take the return of those companies and we can calculate. So if I come to the calculation now, the fees will be given to you. For example, if the fees is 3,000, which is 3%. Over the 1 million, and the spread is 2%. Then in this case, we have the 3%, which is actually this one. You can calculate this alone times 1 million, and this is times 1 million. I just added at least 3%. So this is what we get. And then we get to calculate the RORAC. So the RORAC is the 2.7 the duration, times the loan times the change in the interest rate. And the change in the interest rate, we find it from here. Sometimes I will give it to you ready, sometimes I will give you some data. And then we calculate and we find the RORAC to be 11.11%. So this is step one. Step two is to do the benchmarking. And the benchmarking is we have to see whether we should reject or accept this loan. It depends on the ROA. So if you have three scenarios, if the ROE 10%, then for sure I will accept because the RORAC is higher than this one. So the RORAC here is higher than so this one will be accepted because the RORAC, which is 11%, is higher. This is more than 10%. So in this case, I will accept. In this scenario, if the ROA is 12%, I will reject because the RORAC is 11 and less than 12%. If it is 11, which is equals to the RORAC, then in this case, I have to consider whether to accept the loan or to reject it. So what is the implication on the share price and shareholders? If we accept this one, if they accept this one, that means I'm making 1.11, which is the 10%, the 11%, the RORAC, minus the RORAC is 11% minus the 10. Sorry, the closer cannot help me to write well. So this is actually the increase in the value of the company. This is, and therefore if the estimated ROC is higher than the ROE, there will be added value to the financial institution equity. If the RORAC on existing loan falls below, then actually the lending officer should seek to adjust the loan terms and conditions, which means I can come here, I can change the fees, increase the fees, or maybe decrease the duration. In this case, I can get more value, decrease the value of the RORAC, so it accepts. I can make some changes in a way that I can decrease the RORAC. So I can accept the loan with the current condition. With this, this is just the summary. So you can look at the summary. As you can see, the RORAC does not calculate the ROA. We are not calculating the ROA, but actually we are calculating the spread, the additional or the marginal return over the marginal risk, and seeing if we decide to take this loan, how much the difference will be in the value of the company, since we are going to exceed the ROA. Okay. Actually, the RORAC has special characteristics, which means actually it does two things. While other loans do us only the pricing and the measurement, some of them do the measurement, some of them don't do the pricing. This one do the pricing, which is the value of the RORAC, and by comparing the RORAC to the ROE, we do the benchmarking. So it's some benchmarking and the pricing in the same time. I'm done for part one. Thank you. I will see you in part two. Thank you. Bye-bye.